Hi everyone, welcome back to Lizards of the Coast. I'm Mark, and today we'll be discussing a deck tech for Modern called Uro, a branched off version of the popular deck Crabvine. This deck in Sultai colors looks to make use of the other cool new Simic Titan from Theros Beyond Death, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Now before we talk about the deck itself, let's discuss some of the major absences from this deck that would be seen in a typical Crabvine deck. First major absence from this deck is Vengevine. We don't want to be playing Vengevine in this deck as opposed to in regular Crabvine because there's not as many 1-drops, and since we're including Uro in the deck, we don't really need a bunch of 4/3s that are hasty when we have a big 6/6, where we can be a bit more grindy. The other two cards we don't have in the deck that are usually seen in Crabvine are Carrion Feeder and Gravecrawler. Carrion Feeder Gravecrawler combo is really good for triggering Vengevine because they're both 1-drops, and the ability to sack Gravecrawler or Carrion Feeder can trigger Vengevine much more commonly. However, since we're not playing it, it's not a super necessary combo. The third card we won't be playing in this deck is Glimpse the Unthinkable. Now, Glimpse could be seen in this deck, it's just a matter of whether you want to play Grizzly Salvage or do you want to play Glimpse the Unthinkable. I think Grizzly Salvage is a little bit better because of the fact that it solidifies your mana base a little bit more commonly. Glimpse can obviously mill 10 in one turn, and the ability to hit a lot of really good cards such as Creeping Chill is really a nice benefit. However, I think Grizzly Salvage is more than fine. And the fourth card we're not going to be playing is Memory Sluice, because we're not playing as many 1-drops to Conspire Memory Sluice. Usually you can use Hedron Crab to trigger it, however, because we're not playing other cards like Gravecrawler or Carrion Feeder, it's just not as necessary, but you could play it in the deck. Now let's move on to the main board. Instead of breaking the deck down by typical spells such as creatures and instants and sorceries, it's probably better to break the deck down by 3 different categories, which are going to be the mill cards, the enablers, and the threats. So starting with our mill cards, the first mill card we're going to be playing is Hedron Crab. Obviously, we're calling the deck Crab Uro. Hedron Crab has got to be a big inclusion in the deck. It can mill easily 3 cards every turn with land drops, and if you're playing Fetchlands, it can easily mill 6. Play a turn 1, mill cards for the rest of the game. Great inclusion in the deck. Stitcher Supplier, another great mill card, a 1-drop, is a very good chump blocker, needs to be in the deck. And our third card is going to be Venture Deeper / Merfolk Secret Keeper, Printed and Throne of Eldraine. It's a very good card for our deck, not only because it starts out as a 1-drop mill card for 4, which is really nice, and then later in the game, it can be a really reliable chump blocker as an 0/4, and can be cast from the Adventure, which is just great value. And then the fourth mill card we're going to be playing is Grizzly Salvage, and Golgari colors for 2 mana, grabs you the land or the creature you might need, and even better, because you're probably not going to want to grab your creatures like Bloodghast or Prized Amalgam, you can just let them mill over and usually just grab that land you're going to need. Now, we can move on to the enablers of the deck. The first enabler of the deck is probably going to be Narcomoeba. It's not great to cast, however, it's an easy card to mill over because it's in a reliable 1/1, and it really triggers your Prized Amalgam super easy. And honestly, if you mill over 3 in one game, it can just win you the game. Our second enabler card is going to be Life from the Loam. Life from the Loam is another great mill card because with the Dredge ability, it'll allow us to accrue a lot more milling, and because it'll also solidify our mana base. So it's just a really nice card to have in the deck because with Uro's escape cost, paying double blue and double green is not always going to be super easy, so having Life from the Loam in the deck is going to be really nice. And then a 1 of Dark Blast is included because it's a nice dredge card, and in certain matchups such as humans, when you're going to hit like a Noble Hierarch, or you're going to hit, say, like a Birds of Paradise against this new Yawgmoth deck, it's actually going to be a pretty good card. And then our final 4th enabler is going to be Bloodghast. Bloodghast isn't usually seen in the main Crabvine decks, however, since we're playing a bit more landfall triggers, and because we want something that can be triggered easily with the landfall ability through Uro, Bloodghast is a really nice inclusion because it's a 2/1 that's hasty, it can get a lot of damage in, and honestly, you can win a lot of games with it with a Narcomoeba and Bloodghast combo. Now let's finally move on to our threats of the deck. Our threats of the deck are going to be first off Prized Amalgam. Prized Amalgam has been seen in every Crabvine deck, it's seen in every Dredge deck. It's just a reliable, recursive 3/3 body, and it really synergizes well with Uro's escape cost because you play Uro through escape, it's going to trigger Prized Amalgam, and then you're playing 9 power for 4 mana, essentially. It's insane. Creeping Chill is included in the deck. This card is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how they even printed it. It's a free Lightning Helix that you just mill over. You can't counter it, it just happens. It also essentially makes your deck 56 cards because you're just going to mill it over and not think about it anymore and get that free life gain and that free damage. And our final major threat of the deck is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath from Theros. Because Oko was too broco across all major formats, Wizards decided let's print another really good Simic card. I don't know why they did it, but they did. It's an absolutely insane card, 6/6 recursive body for essentially 4 mana and a bit of delving. It offers incredible power, life gain, ramp, and card advantage through drawing or dredging depending on the situation. Although the original Crabvine is incredibly explosive in its original form, Uro may offer Crabvine the grinding ability and a larger ceiling that could change Crabvine to Crab Uro, which I am dubbing this deck. Now let's finish the main board by discussing the land base. Although it's not too different from the original Crabvine land base, this land base will play 2 extra lands to accommodate Uro's ability and mana cost, while also providing more stability to the mana base overall. So let's discuss the specific cards that'll make up the land base. We'll first start with the Fetchlands. It's important to include them in the deck because they make the deck thinner and makes your Hedron Crab much more effective while also giving you a reliable mana base. So in this deck we're going to play 4 Verdant Catacomb, 4 Polluted Delta, 2 Misty Rainforest, and 1 Bloodstained Mire. 11 Fetchlands in one deck is a lot for certain, and it's going to be expensive unfortunately. However, because we want to be triggering the Hedron Crab and because we're really going to need a specific cards such as Breeding Pools and Overgrown Tombs, we're really going to include a lot of Fetchlands. Our main mana producer lands are going to be 3 Watery Grave, 1 Overgrown Tomb, 1 Breeding Pool, 1 Darkslick Shores, and the 2 extra lands I'm including in the deck are 1 Nurturing Peatland and 1 Waterlogged Grove. They're not usually played in Crabvine, but because with Uro's landfall ability, we're going to have a lot of turns in the late game if we're grinding where we can play Uro, then we can swing in with Uro, put that land into play, automatically draw the card off of its cost, and then it goes back in our graveyard, use life from the loam, bring it back, repeat the cycle. It's going to give us a lot of grinding ability in the late game, and with Uro's life gain and just consistent damage, it's going to stop a lot of decks in the late game that usually would beat us. So I think that's the main advantage of this deck, is that you lack a little bit of explosion in the early game, however you get a lot more late game grinding. And then the 2 basics we're going to play in the deck are 1 Island and 1 Swamp. We don't play any Forest in the deck, which is a little weird because Uro's escape cost is a little expensive for green mana. However, our main ability to get those 1-drops out between our Stitcher Suppliers and our Hedron Crabs is why we're including only Island and Swamp. Now let's move on to the sideboard. In our sideboard, we're going to include 2 Assassin's Trophy. Assassin's Trophy is going to be great for those big planeswalkers, big creatures, and annoying permanents like Blood Moon and Rest in Peace. We're going to include 2 Thoughtseize, mainly for against Control and against Primeval Titan. We're going to include 1 Fatal Push, great for small creatures such as Thing in the Ice or Goblin Guides. We're going to include 1 Abrupt Decay, which also kills Rest in Peace, but it's a better control card against things like Teferi, which is Teferi Time Reveler. We're going to include 3 Surgical Extraction. It's going to be great for the mirror match, and it's going to remove problematic threats in the graveyard. We're going to need to include cards like Surgical Extraction because they're inexpensive with their Phyrexian mana costs, and we're going to be able to pay that 2 mana and get rid of the threat, and we're not too worried about the life loss because we're going to be playing Creeping Chill and Uro. We're going to play 3 Nature's Claim in the deck, which is just a fantastic card for artifacts and enchantments, great for Arkham's Astrolabe or Rest in Peace. And then we're going to include 3 Force Negation. It's going to be fantastic in the control matchup, and similar to Surgical Extraction, we don't have time to waste with higher mana costs such as Remand or other cards such as that, so Force Negation, pitch a Narcomoeba in your opening hand to get rid of a card you really don't want to see, and it's going to be great for you. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Comment down below what you thought of the deck and if you have any suggestions, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.